Good morning, guys. Today we're going to be looking at how you can use the variety of persuasive devices and techniques in your own writing. This particular area is tested in language paper 2, and it looks at the two assessment objectives, which is your AO5 and AO6. Your AO5 is normally your structure and organization. AO6 is normally marks allocated for technical accuracy, as you know. Right, so the first thing, I'll get straight into it. The first technique that you've already been learning for a long time is something called direct address. Now, how do you identify direct address? That's the question. And how do you use it in your own writing? Now, direct address is normally used when you use your pronouns to help you with conveying your message. Now remember, when you're writing persuasively, you've got to make sure that whatever topic you're writing about is really compelling, really convincing, really persuasive, because you want to persuade your reader or convince your reader of your point of view. A persuasive piece of writing is biased. It is trying to persuade the reader of a particular point of view. So you need to make sure that every single sentence you write is really giving the reader or the audience an understanding of how you feel and how strongly you feel about a certain subject or topic. So you'll use words such as we, our, like in this case. We all know that our country and our people are experiencing very challenging times, right? So words like we, you, these are personal pronouns, and they will help you to ensure that you are directly addressing your reader or your audience, for example. Okay? Let's look at this one. You all know that we can all make a small change to reduce our carbon footprint and save our planet. Now, there's another example of direct address. Right, the next one, guys, is exaggeration, which you've already learnt about. For example, right, there is only one place in the universe to get the new Dell streak. Now, that is obviously an exaggeration, because here, the writer is emphasizing and obviously wants to secure a huge space in the market for this particular device, which is a Dell device, okay? And therefore, he says there is only one place in the universe, okay? And that would be an example of exaggeration. It has a hyperbolic effect. You could very well use something like this in your writing when you are writing to persuade, and it would be appropriate. Now have a look at the next one here. Sugar is a toxic substance. Now, that is also a bit of a shock tactic, because remember, when you're writing persuasively, you can also use shock tactics. So your shock tactics can also sometimes be an exaggeration. In this case here, sugar is a toxic substance is definitely an exaggeration. It has a hyperbolic effect. It is also a shock tactic that a writer might use, and you can use in your own writing to make a point really convincing. The next one, technology has taken over the world. Now, we can't think for ourselves. So here again, exaggeration, that technology has taken over the world. You can see I've got the font in red suggesting which part is actually the exaggeration. Now, technology, as we know, is really good because it has advanced in so many different ways and it has become really smart. But of course, we do need human beings, and we do need the human element to make everything work, because it is an invention of man's. So here again, that would be an example of exaggeration. Let's go on to the next one. Another device that you might use in your writing, guys, is evidence. Now, evidence is really giving some sort of information that comes across as being quite worthy, quite true, perhaps, and would help you strengthen your writing. So, for example, we have here, in a study conducted last year by scientists, it was concluded that high blood pressure can be reduced by regular exercise. You might also say students who revised regularly showed a 40% increase in their biology exam results. Now, here, by using 40%, that is an example of evidence you're providing, but that is also a statistic, which is another persuasive device of language. Now, emotive language is also known as pathos. You might have learned it as pathos, right? It's when writers use really strong, powerful adjectives and verbs and adverbs and language in general to convey what they're saying in a very persuasive way. In this case, I've got, it is an absolutely devastating tragedy. In other words, devastating tragedy would definitely be an example of emotive language. Okay, of course, here we're talking about an earthquake, right? Let's look at the next one. Medical workers are exposed to the threat of infection and extreme risk. Again, here, threat of infection, extreme risk. These are emotive words. Okay. If you look at this word here, extreme risk, that would be an intensifier as well. Like here, absolutely. It really is intensifying the effect of what you're saying. So guys, that's your emotive language. Please use emotive language in your persuasive writing. It will definitely help you to make whatever you're saying very convincing. And then your old friend, the rhetorical question. Now, the rhetorical question can be very powerful, especially when you use it at the beginning of your writing, because it can be a very strong and powerful approach to engaging your audience or your reader straight away. So let's look at this example. Would you like to live in a world that is peaceful and loving? Right? So here you're engaging your audience. You're making them think, because that is what a rhetorical question does. It makes your reader think. Is artificial intelligence making us too dependent on machines? Right? Then I want to talk to you about repetition. Now, repetition is a persuasive device. It is also a structural device. You will see that in your poems. You will see it in your literary texts. You will see it in your articles in language paper 1 and 2. Look for it, because remember, your repetition is emphasizing something. When you use repetition, when you're writing persuasively, you are making your point crystal clear to your reader, to your audience. Have a look at this by Malala. One child, one teacher, one book, and one pen can change the world. Very powerful, right? The repetition of the word one. Let's have a look at the next one. Stay at home, stay safe, stay alive. Right? We've been hearing a lot of this recently. Bills, bills, bills. That's all we see. Again, repetition emphasizing actually how, everything is all about money and paying for services, paying, at the end of the month when you get your salary, for example. So here, perhaps the topic is about something to do with, the cost of living, maybe. So use repetition in your writing. Then your rule of 3, also known as your triple, make sure you use it in your writing, or a triplet maybe, right? Your rule of 3, again, is very much like the repetition. It's emphasizing something, but not repeating the same word. So you're saying something in 3 different ways, right? It's almost like using synonyms to say the same thing, but it has that very emphatic effect. Apples are sweet, nutritious, and delicious. we're really trying here to reinforce how tasty apples are, and at the same time being quite good for your health and, you know, quite nutritious. So we're making that point. And then look at this one. The movie was adventurous, engaging, and intriguing. I mean, what you're really trying to say there is the movie is interesting. Then, guys, I want you to be using superlatives. Now, superlatives are normally associated with exaggeration. When you are exaggerating your point or using hyperbole in your writing, you might want to use superlatives. Your superlatives are words like best. Okay, this is the best school on the planet. As we know, most children prefer to eat a healthy snack during the morning break, right? Now, some of the words that are superlatives are examples of superlatives are most, best, least, largest, greatest, worst, tiniest. These are your examples of superlatives. Please use them in your writing. Now I want to go on to the alliterative claim, or basically it's an alliteration. But I call it an alliterative claim because you're making a very strong claim about something that you feel strongly about. For example, a drunk driver is dangerous. There's your alliteration right there. And it is a plosive alliteration because of the repetition of the d sound, which is really strong because you want to make your point very strong and powerful, right? The coronavirus has crippled the economy. There's your alliteration again. Corona, crippled, the repetition of the k sound. And that's a claim suggesting, you know, what the impact was of the coronavirus. So use that in your writing. Then, so your anecdote is a little story that hooks your reader in. It's a little story from personal experience or from someone else's experience or something you know of that will help you again make your argument or your writing more convincing. So you're literally giving evidence. The latest victim, for example, Lucy Smith, was left alone with her family's 2 pit bull terriers just for a few minutes, and she was then mauled beyond recognition. Here is a little story to help your reader understand what you're saying, but moreover to convince them. But then you can see that right here, we're also using lots of emotive language like mauled, beyond recognition, quite emotive, right? We're talking about words like latest victim. And these are examples of emotive language that you can use in an anecdote as well to convince your reader. Okay, so it comes from personal experience or someone else's experience. Statistics, as you know, are your number facts. They are your percentages. They are your figures that, again, showing scale, showing the extent of something, showing the enormity of something, for example, right? For example, in an online survey conducted this year, it was found that 89% of Facebook users also use Instagram. So here, a percentage is given by the writer to show the extent or the large number of people that are both Facebook users as well as Instagram users. Again, guys, we're using percentages. You could use numbers. Look at the percentages here, and that will help you in your writing to create some sort of impact. Then I want to go on to intensifiers. Intensifiers as a persuasive device might be new to many of you, but then many of you must have also learned them at school and what they're about. They really do exactly that. They intensify the impact of what you're saying. So let's have a look at some examples of intensifiers. These are extremes of what you're saying. So if you use the word absolutely devastating disaster, that would be an example of an intensifier. An extremely horrific incident, that's your intensifier. Someone who's critically ill, that's your intensifier. Very cold day, intensely cold day, that's your intensifier. Please use intensifiers that will help you, like in this case, an incredibly efficient service, right? Make sure that your introduction is really, really strong, powerful, and engaging, guys, because remember, your introduction needs to hook your reader in. It's your narrative hook. It needs to hook your reader in, and it really needs to keep your reader sustained throughout your entire 2 pages of writing. So you might want to start with a rhetorical question, for example, or you might want to start with a shock tactic. Let's look at this one. We are lucky if we have only 20,000 deaths due to the virus this year. Now, this is a shock tactic. At the beginning, when the virus started just spreading in the UK, for example, right? One of the speakers on behalf of the government, and he was on the side of the medical and scientific team, actually mentioned at that point in March that we'd be lucky if we have about 20,000 deaths. But as you know, that at that time was quite shocking to us, but now it is a reality because we have well over 20,000 deaths in this. It had quite a huge impact because it helped people understand the severity of the coronavirus. Have a look at that rhetorical question. Have you ever thought about homeschooling your child before? Now it's a reality, as we can see. If we had spoken about this, a couple of months ago, perhaps you might think, how can that even be something we would consider? So make sure that your introduction is really strong and powerful. You might start off your introduction with statistics like 89% of children who ate their fiber a day showed a huge improvement in health and well-being. Now, shouldn't we be including fruit and vegetables in our meals every day? So I've got there and I've started off using statistics, but then I've reinforced it with a rhetorical question. And you can do that too in your introduction to make it strong and powerful. Right, now guys, I want to talk to you about sentence starters or openers in the different sentences or paragraphs that you might use in your writing. Make sure that they are powerful. And these are your discourse markers, as you know as well, and you would see, like furthermore, surely, clearly, that can't be right. Moreover, consequently, it is a known fact that we should be protecting ourselves during this time of great uncertainty, for example. That would be persuasive, and these are all sentence starters. They're also known as discourse markers, and they are paragraph openers as well. Please, guys, use them in your writing. This is what we look for when we're marking your assessments, when we're marking your exams at the end of the year. Now, I want to talk to you about using credible and worthy sources in your writing. These are names and quotes from worthy sources. For example, according to Prof. Heiberg from the University of Oxford, studying from 5 to 7 in the morning improves concentration and the retention of information by 65%. Now, that we should not be judged by the color of our skin, but by the strength of our character. Who said that? Martin Luther King, right? Again, very, very powerful, coming from a very worthy source, a very credible man in history. So have a look at that and see how you can use quotes from reliable sources in your writing to make it, again, very powerful. And there's a quote from a head teacher. The head teacher from our school has confirmed that continuous revising led to very positive outcomes for our students. Now that would be an example that you could use in your own writing, guys. So what I've done now to show it to you very clearly is I've listed all the persuasive devices I've been speaking about, all right, in that order, so you can see it nice and clearly. Here we go. right? And I want you to look at this one here, preempting. Preempting, guys, is when you use future positives in your writing. So, for example, you could use your pronouns to help you with that. Like, we all know that by next year, this time, it's all going to be over. There you go. Now, I want you to look very carefully at what I've done. I've put it in an order that you can remember. P, E, R, S, U, A, S, I, O, N, in order of how the word persuasion is written, to make it easy for you to remember to use as many of these devices as possible in your exam. So when you go into your exam and you go into section B of language paper 2, straight away write this down on your paper. Write this down on your question paper and learn all of these out. So you know you've got P standing for personal pronouns, preempting, pathos, and you've got E, exaggeration, evidence, rhetorical questions, your superlatives, statistics. So guys, it's really easy for you to remember now, and I do hope that you will remember this and use it in your exam. Now, if we use all of these devices twice over in our writing, in our exams, we going to have at least 2 pages to 2.5 pages of really good content packaged in all of the lovely, convincing linguistic devices, which are your persuasive techniques. Thank you, guys, and I hope that you learned something from this video. I do hope that you found this lesson useful today, guys. Please like, subscribe, and share. And if there's any specific topic you would like help on, do leave a comment below. Thanks for watching.